And welcome back everybody to another HTML tutorial. Today we're going to learn how to create tables for our web page in case you need to display information in a more data friendly way. So we'll go into our Web 1 projects folder, create a new folder which we will call tables. And then we'll create an HTML and a CSS document. So open up your text editor, go to Save As, and find that tables folder. Click the drop down and find Hypertext Markup Language. We'll save it as index.html. And then we will do the same for our CSS document. Put it in the same folder, tables, and then in the drop-down menu select Cascade Style Sheet file, and this one we will call styles.css, and save. And then both of those files should be in the same folder. Styles, we don't have anything on there. I went ahead and set up the index.html. So we have the HTML tag with the head and the body sections. In the head, I just called the title tables. And for the description, on the content of it, I put adding tables to our site. And then I also went ahead and put the link for our CSS document, so we don't have to worry about doing that later. We're not going to create an entire web page for this, but obviously what we're creating could go into any section or article or div or anything that we've done in the past. But in here, we'll just have our table, and then you can take this and apply it to any other page just with a little copy paste and all that good stuff. We'll start with our table tag, and then down here towards the bottom we will close it, /table. That's our first item to do. And then in a table you can use what's called a caption tag. This is just text that could be used to label it. And this will be just a placeholder. This isn't all going to be just about social media, but we'll pretend that this table is primarily going to be about social media. So I'll type in social media content in the caption, and then underneath that we're going to use our tr command. Our tr is like our rows, our table rows information, and there's a couple things that can go in a tr. The first one that we'll talk about here is a th. We'll close the th, and this is your row heading. So this is going to be like a bold type. It kind of sets it apart visually. And then I'll type in content in one of them, and this one will be a relatively small table just to give you an idea of what you can do. Then the second one we will type in something like %. Alright, that is our first information that is in there. And now we're going to continue building the things that will show up underneath this. So we can actually even see what this looks like right now just to show you. Here's our information, social media, content, %. Kind of get the idea. Okay, now underneath that we're going to put in another tr. And in this tr, instead of putting in th's, we're going to put in td. And these are your non-heading cells, I guess you could say. So we'll copy that, and then we'll have 2 in here, and in the first one we'll type in images, and then in the second one we'll say 22. just so we have some information for our table. So content percent, images 22. Obviously, if I added more, in this one, a third one, it would go across 3. So that's how you control how many you have in your rows and columns in there. Once we have that, we can just copy that one. And we'll put one underneath it. And we'll type in videos and 23. And underneath that, we'll paste it again. And in this one, we'll type in offers and 21. And underneath that, paste again, and we'll go articles and 16. All right, now we have this built up in here. Now, there's a few other things that we can do, but I think I'll show you what this kind of looks like first before we get to the more advanced parts of the table. So for this, we'll go over to the styles, and I'll use table and my curve brackets. And we'll go border hyphen collapse so that our borders can be collapsed. We'll go width of 70% and margin of auto, just to have it smaller than the table, or smaller than the page, and have it centered in the middle there. Then the next thing we can do is for our TDs and our THs. We'll just kind of treat them the same here. And we'll go border colon 1px solid and pound sign 000,000. So we'll have a thin black border, gosh darn it, go around the outside. There we go. And then underneath that, we'll go padding 8px, just so we have some room around our information in our table, our cells in there. Then if we see what that looks like now, starts to look a lot more like a table, correct? I'll minimize this just so we can show you some other things that we can do in here. Maybe down here we'll go tr colon nth hyphen child and then parentheses even, and then after that we'll use our curve brackets, and I can use background hyphen color, and we'll go pound sign DD just to make it a slightly off color so we can see what's happening there. And now every other row in this case is shaded in a little bit. Helps if you have a long table, you know, so your users don't have to like drag their finger all the way across the screen to try to follow it. Just more readability, I guess, for that. So I do use that often when I make a table. And then down here we'll go caption, and we can say font hyphen weight bold, and we'll use font hyphen size, and this is something we haven't really done before. Just you can use pixels or whatever if you want, but just to show you something new, another way you can size items is by EM, so that scales it by the default size. So this would be 1.5 times the size of the regular default text in this case. And I'll save that. So sometimes people like to use that. I most of the time like to use pixels, but it's up to you on what you're trying to do and what's easiest for you. We'll refresh this, and now we see that text up there is bold and a little bit bigger. Okay, that's our regular table. Now, what if we want to add like a couple of more advanced type things to our table? Well, we can do that. It's a little cumbersome, but you can really customize these to however you want them to be. So in here, I'm going to put in a TR. And in the TR, I'm going to put, this one's going to have one TD. So I'll go TD space call span equals quotation marks 2. And I'll close the TD right here. And then between those two tags, I'm going to type in this cell is wider. All right, so let's see what's happening here. Call span 2 means that it's going to be 2 cells wide. So you can have cells take up more than one, like if this was 3 and you wanted this to be 2 of the 3, you could do that. And then another thing we can do here is with the TR, TD, TD. And in this one, I will have 2 of these in here. And in the first one, I'm going to type in, for a tag, we'll say row span is equal to quotation marks 2. And then in here, I'll type in this cell is taller. And then down here, I'll just type in data. And just a word to fill the space. All right, and then underneath that, to finish this one off, otherwise it won't be even, I'll put these in here. And then one more tag with the lowercase t and d. And close it up. And in here, I'll type in more data. All right, we'll save that. Let's go back to our table here and we'll refresh it. So here you can see you can also make cells if they need to be taller. It's kind of like when you're merging cells in Excel and all that. You just do it with code here. And it does get a little weird, like your shading horizontally is not going to be consistent because, you know, it goes horizontally here, so it's got to skip one here, but you get the idea. All sorts of uses for it. I wouldn't recommend using a table as a way to align things on your web page for a grid. In our next lesson, we're going to learn about grid, which is better for that. But if you're trying to find a way for putting a table in, like maybe it's for a team roster, or maybe it's for like an upcoming calendar of events, or a list of things, whatever you want to use it for, it does kind of make looking at a lot of numbers and information a little bit easier on your web page. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you another time.